Hello my geometry geniuses. Today we're going to start off talking about circles. First of all, for today's quiz is you're going to need your circles foldable. Make sure that you use it. I'm going to talk about a couple of topics in circles or about circles that you struggled with. I'm also going to talk fairly quickly because you can stop, pause, and rewind the video as needed. Okay? So, first of all, let's talk about radius and diameter. Radius starts in the middle and goes to the side of the circle. And radius is half the diameter. So if we're given the diameter in a problem, we just divide it by 2 in order to find the radius. Conversely, if we have the diameter, if we have the radius rather, we multiply the radius times 2 to figure out what the diameter is. You already have these formulas in your spirals when we use the circle unit, but just in case, because we struggled with this during that unit, I want to make sure you write it down again. So that means it's important. Remember that circumference is the distance around a circle, okay? Because a circle does not have segments, it doesn't have straight edges, we can't say the perimeter of a circle, so it has a special name. It's circumference. This is also on the page with the yellow foldable about perimeter. You should also have these formulas written down on that page. So again, circumference is the distance going around the circle. Okay, going around the circle. There's 2 ways to find circumference. If a problem gives you the radius, it's 2 times pi times the radius. Make sure you're using the pi button on your Inspire. And for circumference, if you're given the diameter, you just multiply the diameter times pi. For the area of a circle, remember, area means the square units inside. So the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Move that up there. Pi times the radius squared. Okay, when we went through the circle unit, we had several people that were still putting a 2 in front. Remember that the circumference has the 2 if you're given the radius. But for area, the only 2 in the formula is for you to square the radius. And that is it. Okay? Now let's talk about angles within a circle. Central angle has a vertex in the center of the circle, and the measure of the central angle matches the measure of the arc. The measure of the angle matches the measure of the arc. Angle equals arc. With an inscribed angle on the circle, not in the center. See the difference? Center and on. Center and on. So the angle is 30 and the arc that goes with the angle is twice as big. So if I know the angle, I know that the angle measure is half of the arc. So if I'm given the angle, I just multiply the angle times 2 and that'll tell me how big the arc is. Okay? So the angle equals half the arc equals 2 times the angle. Next, let's talk about the arcs in a circle. Remember that minor arcs have 2 letters and they measure less than 180. Major arcs have 3 letters and they are greater than 180. A semicircle is exactly 180. So a minor arc, let's say I have arc CB, and put the arc symbol over it. And then for a major arc, let's say I have CBA. And for a semicircle, I would also have 3 letters, CBA. So for these two, you would just have to make sure that you read the question to see if they're talking about a semicircle or a major arc. Okay, next, transformations. Transformations. Just like the movie Transformers, transformations means we're changing something. Back from junior high, you should remember that reflection means flip. FL in reflections, FL in flip, to help you remember. Okay? If we flip a figure over the x-axis, that's the horizontal line, okay? If we flip over the x-axis, then we take the opposite of the y value of the coordinate. That's how it changes. This is the original. This would be the coordinates after we flip it across the x-axis. If we flip a figure across the y-axis, this is our original set of points. On our new set of points, we'll take the opposite of x. Remember, if our original is negative, the opposite of negative is positive, so the new coordinate would be positive. If our original coordinate is positive, then our new coordinate would be negative. And remember, this is flipping across the y-axis, which is a vertical line. Okay? Next, if we flip across y equals x, then the coordinates of the points change places. So this is my original, this would be my new set of points. Okay, that's reflections. Next are rotations. Remember, rotation means turn. Rotation means turn. So when we go clockwise, clockwise means I'm turning to the right. Counterclockwise means we're turning to the left. A quarter turn means I'm turning 90 degrees. The original coordinates are x, y. If I do a quarter turn, then my coordinates would switch places. If I make a half turn, which is 180 degrees, my original points, x, y, become the opposite of the original. So if they're both positive, then they both become negative. If they're both negative, then they will both become positive. Remember, the negative means take the opposite. It does not just mean make the number negative. The negative means take the opposite of the original number. The negative means take the opposite of the original number. Okay? If I make a 3/4 turn, not only do the x and y switch places, but the x, I take the opposite of the x coordinate. So if I do a 3/4 turn, which is 270 degrees, these are my original points. I switch the points and take the opposite of x. And that is rotations. Okay, next we have translations. Translations. Translations are slides. Okay? Translations are slides. So, if I have this translation means I'm going to move 2 spaces to the right because it says x plus 2, that's positive. Positive is going to the right. Didn't do anything to the y, only move the x 2 spaces to the right. Let's say I have the x doesn't move, but the y does. Then I would move 2 spaces up. So if this was a subtract 2, then I'd move 2 spaces down. And if this was a subtract 2, I'd move 2 spaces to the left. Okay? So it'd just be the opposite of what we have written right here. Okay? Alrighty. Next, something we have not talked about very much because you're expected to remember it from junior high, and that is volume. Okay? Volume, cube units inside of an object. Remember, volume means how many three-dimensional cubes will fit inside of an object. Okay? Area is how many flat squares will fit inside of an object. Volume is how many actual cubes will fit inside of an object. Okay? Volume, sorry. So volume means the area of the base, that's the big B, capital B, area of the base times the height of the object. Area of the base times the height of the object. That's how you find volume. So I want you to draw a box. So if I draw one rectangle, ooh, that's kind of messy, huh? I can't draw a straight line. Start a little bit right here, draw another rectangle, and then connect the edges. Volume means I figure out what the area of the bottom is, no matter the shape. So big B is going to be length times the width. This is the width, this is the length. And then I multiply that times how tall the object is. So in junior high, you learn volume as length times width times height. But in high school, because mathematicians are lazy and they don't like to write, they changed the L and the W to a capital B and then just wrote the H. Okay, same thing from junior high, just written in shorthand. Okay, so one more time. Area of the base is the capital B times the height. That's what you're doing for volume. Okay? Now, when you do your quizzes, remember to check at the end the review to make sure that you write down problems you may have struggled with or that you may have had difficulty with, because remember, the only thing you can use on the test is your spiral. So any additional notes you write, you want to write them in your spiral. Here is your quizzes code. You need to finish your quizzes today. If you and your partner, while you're working together, cannot answer a question, you need to make sure that you ask me. Okay? Don't leave class not knowing how to do a problem. I don't want you to struggle during the final, because when you take your final exam, I'm not going to be able to help you work problems. You're going to have to do that on your own. So you need to practice now so that you can be successful. Alrighty. Happy learning!